Hello, welcome back to Aetheral Space 16.16 new
Animal what?
I'm about to say Animal Crossing.
Welcome back. What would the Animal Crossing noises be for each of the characters?
We'll skip over and go,
Like Sans?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It was like when you're reading the Elysian Fields arc the second time, he goes like, "The Supreme, huh? Now look in your eyes." It looks like the eyes of someone who's died twice in a row.
Reveal never before seen backstory of Skipper's brother the Supreme killed. It was just a dirty brother killer. Can't you feel it? Your sins crawling on your back.
And I just shrugged them off.
Alright. Without further ado. Oh, wait, one more. If there was an equivalent to the Penguin show for Aetheral Space, who would the star of that be? Who would it be focused
Like
on?
a crime drama sort of villain-led show.
Yeah.
The Oliphants.
Yeah. They'd be like the Sopranos.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Memory is water, and water is memory. It bolsters and sustains. It nurtures and creates. Without it, you're barely anything at all. And of course, if you're not careful, you can drown in it. The recollection, confined to a distant cavern, began slowly to trickle free, through tiny gaps in rock and thought, small and slow at first, but faster, 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 until it isn't a trickle at all. Water is not so easily denied. It drowns mountains. The rocks began to crack. Ashtel Durin dashed out of the room, already heading for the seat of man, and Gretchen Hale stepped up onto the table in his place. Crossbow still trained on Morgan knocked. He used that thing on you, didn't he? She asked casually. Black timer? If you ask me, it's ridiculous that isn't an Aether ability, but the world's a strange place. Morgan glared along the length of the table at her. Frozen in place by Black Timer's threat of death, that was all he could do. 3 unwise steps and his heart would explode in his chest. That was all the leeway he had right now. Can he do other stuff with his body? Can he just not step?
Yeah, you can't. The act of like taking a step forward advances the countdown.
Is it because the foot's where all the nerves end?
Yes, you got it.
We did it. He took a deep breath. The air felt thin. Well, hold on. Couldn't he actually win by cutting his feet off? Because then he's immune to it, right?
No.
Or if he rolled his body on the ground, like how one might do down a hill.
There's step-adjacent movements, like kneeling, that would probably trigger, and he doesn't want to risk. It's like standing on a landmine.
What about jumping? Does that count? And then you can go sideways
land,
and start
yeah.
rolling? Alright, but that's only one step, and then you can roll from then on.
Well, yeah, but then you've rolled a little bit away.
What about flying? Like you summon a hoverboard.
You would take a step to get on the hoverboard, but then you'd be good.
Ooh, okay. Sorry, I completely interrupted whatever was going on. He took a deep breath. The air felt thin, like he was climbing a mountain. You're not going with them? He asked, throat dry. I thought that was your mission. I thought you were here for Muzazi. Were you not listening? Gretchen raised an eyebrow. They can handle Muzazi on their own. But you and I have unfinished business, Morgan knocked. How's that? She smirked. You really have to ask? Yeah, Morgan nodded. I really have to ask. I've got unfinished business with you. Sure, you killed my friend. I want you dead more than anyone else. But what's your business with me? The smirk on her lips twitched a little. You're a loose end. I'm a meticulous sort of person. After Muzazi's dead, we don't want you still running around starting shit. You don't sound convinced. Well, you don't need to worry about it! She raised the crossbow, pointing it at Morgan's head. You won't be around for whatever happens next. Morgan looked down at the weapon. Another armament? He asked. What else would it be? Gretchen reached into her pocket and pulled out a thin, curved dagger with her other hand. Oh, look! Here's another one! Don't worry, I've come prepared for whatever tricks you might pull. Morgan tensed up, readying himself. Is that eye an Aether armament, too? Gretchen blinked. Huh? Morgan frowned at Gretchen's obvious confusion. Your left eye turned green. You didn't know? No, it hasn't. Gretchen narrowed her eyes into a glare, a golden green glare. Instead, her left eye had changed. Instead of a pungent gold, it glimmered with a vibrant shade of green. Like Gretchen had suddenly developed heterochromia within the last few minutes. She really didn't know? Oh, no, 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 no! You animal!
Yeah.
Sorry. But when I wasn't looking, my cat knocked my mouse off the computer, so I can't scroll the page. Give me a minute.
Did you catch his hidden abuse of language?
Ugh. What? What was my abusive language?
You called your cat an animal, not a person.
She's not! She's an animal!
Whoa! He's doubling down. I thought it was a slip of the tongue, but perhaps it goes deeper.
No, but a person is like a human, yeah?
Whoa!
Oh my god.
The true self has been revealed.
Oh my god, shut up. It has, Morgan insisted, leaning forward without taking another step. With the hand behind his back, he began to prepare what he needed. He didn't understand what was going on, but if he could stall for time, he could still find a way out of this. If he could just get a chance. Slowly, Gretchen turned the blade in her hand so that she could see her reflection in its sheen. Her eyes widened as she saw what had happened to them. When she spoke, it was barely a murmur. What the hell? F-A-L! Morgan pulled his hand out from behind his back and hurled a sphere of solid fog towards Gretchen, a sphere that erupted into a hungry fireball as it scorched its way through the air. Caught off guard, Gretchen threw herself to the side, off the table, and the fireball flew past her, slamming into the wall and sending flames spraying all throughout the room. They set upon the wallpapers and curtains with eager viciousness. "Bastard!" Gretchen screamed as she landed on the floor. Picking herself up as quickly as she could, she raised her crossbow and fired 3 screaming shots in Morgan's direction. The projectiles couldn't be called simple arrows. As they flew, they spread out wings of gold, looking more like birds than bolts. Cyclopean red eyes focused on Morgan, locking on to their targets. With one hand, Morgan Noct wielded his saber, and the other he forged a sword of solid fog. And he danced. Sparks and bloody water flew in every direction as he repelled the winged arrows, again and again and again, shattering them like pottery after a few clashes. Gretchen wasn't just standing there and watching them. I thought that was going to say Gretchen wasn't just standing on business. After taking a swig of a red potion from out of her aether, she was already replacing her crossbow with a bulky shotgun-like contraption, sighting lasers spread out like a web from the barrel. A true doohickey. She leaked... Oh, okay, I didn't know if her pronoun changed or not. She licked her lips, and those lasers began to converge.
She discovered herself.
Slowly but surely uniting at a point right between Morgan Noct's forehead. Gretchen took a deep breath. Pee! And Morgan Noct stepped forward. Thump. What a fool. Clearly Morgan Noct hadn't judged his distances correctly. Given the distance between him and Gretchen right now, his heart would pop out of his chest before he even made it halfway. He'd lost himself to the panic and fear of a battle to the death. So little time left in the world, and he'd wasted one of the few steps left to him. Thump. And another. Even as the lasers continued to converge, readying the kill shot, Morgan Noct continued to charge forward. There was a curiously blank look in his eyes as he moved, though. The eyes of a doll. Was he feeling okay? Given the difference in strength between Morgan Noct and Ashtel, he couldn't have much of a countdown left. If Gretchen understood Black Timer correctly, then the idiot was probably at the end of his lifeline. She wouldn't even need to pull the trigger. All she had to do was look on, in this moment frozen to infinity, and watch Morgan Noct fall. Thump! She frowned. He wasn't falling. Thump, 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 thump! With a cry of surprise, Gretchen raised her Galaga gun up, barely managing to block Morgan Noct's downward strike. Life flared back into the new moon's eyes as he pushed down, teeth gritted in exertion as they struggled against each other. "You should be dead!" she hissed. "It worked!" Morgan gasped, as if he couldn't quite believe it himself. "It worked!" P. When Morgan had first started his training, he'd imagined he'd develop some such ridiculous powers later on, like the ones his teacher so casually tossed out. P would be for Phoenix, perhaps, bringing him back to life stronger. Or maybe just power, pushing his physical strength into the absurd. He'd hoped that, by this point in the alphabet, he'd be just one step below Wu Ming. But he was not Wu Ming. He was Morgan Noct, and he had to make do with what he had. Puppet. Black Timer's countdown progressed each time his body underwent the functions required to take a step forward. If those functions didn't take place, there would be no problem. If those functions didn't take place, he could move without worrying about advancing the countdown. Hence, Puppet. Okay, so get the idea of Puppet, right? There are, like, supposedly some invisible strings moving him, but wouldn't his body still be making the same, like, biomechanical movements because it's being pulled in such a way?
Well, it's more like he's not actually doing anything. He's being pulled around by an external force rather than anything happening internally that would trigger the countdown.
Interesting. Okay. It was an advancement of the principle by which Morgan pulled himself around with fog. Rather than moving around using his actual nerves, he was controlling his body directly with his aether, tugging his body parts around like a rag doll. That way he could keep fighting without worrying about triggering Black Timer. Of course, it wasn't without risk. Strictly speaking, Puppet was the ability to force his body to carry out a series of pre-programmed movements. The key there was pre-programmed. Once Morgan activated Puppet, he couldn't deactivate it halfway through moving. If he programmed Puppet to have him run across the room, he couldn't just stop if a wall suddenly appeared in his way. He'd have no choice but to run into it full speed, and for even more fun, his full speed under Puppet was quite a bit faster. It was a good thing that Gretchen hadn't just moved to dodge his pre-programmed attack, but that wasn't what Morgan was concerned about right now. What he was thinking about was what he was looking at, and what he had heard. That green eye and that we. As the two of them struggled against each other, Morgan asked the question. Ioneer? Water is memory, and memory is water. Would you like to take this next part?
No.
Okay, very good. Water is memory, and memory is water, and 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 water is memory, and memory is water. I feel like I'm, like, waterboarding myself.
You don't have to do the whole thing.
You get the idea. I got about halfway.
Idea. It's an audio format.
I got about halfway through the block of texts. Gretchen gasped suddenly and involuntarily, as if suddenly pulled up out of a deep lake. A migraine, like a hammer, slammed against the inside of her skull. Her hands trembled as they held onto her gun, and Morgan took advantage, pushing harder against her block, driving her smaller frame towards the floor. Wood creaked beneath her as she held her ground as best she could. Ridiculous, truly ridiculous. Ioneer, she laughed, eyes wide. Are you being serious? We already killed that thing, you idiot. Morgan didn't respond to that. He just opened his mouth and called out again. Ioneer, are you in there? Say something! You can hear me, can't you? Water is memory, and memory is water, and water is memory, and memory is water, and... Gretchen screamed as something beat against the inside of her head, like someone was taking their fists to the bark there. No, not bark, bone! Bone, 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 bone!
Me when I see my
was dying. What'd you say?
Me when I see my ship.
Nice. When I was dying. Morgan breathed, tears in his eyes. You became part of me, and you saved me. So when you were dying, you became part of Gretchen, and you saved yourself. That's it, isn't it? What the hell was he even talking about? Idiot, fool, moron, fucking idiot. Morgan Noct didn't know what he was talking about. Nothing like that ever had happened. What was he even basing it on? A slip of the tongue? A single green eye? Because of the aether armament she'd used back on Azumha, her appearance was now based partially on her self-image, but her self-image hadn't changed. There was no reason she'd think of herself with green eyes. No reason at all, stupid moron. It hated him. No, she hated him. He didn't know what he was talking about. She needed him dead. She needed him gone. Morgan Noct was not... Wait, no! What?! Does Ioneer hate Morgan?
There's not iron in writing.
Morgan Noct, all lowercase, by the way, was nothing but an eyesore. Ioneer! Water is memory, and memory is water, and water is memory! Breaking free of their clash with a shriek of agony, Gretchen pointed her gun down towards the floor beneath Morgan's feet and blasted it apart with a single frenzied shot. Morgan plummeted out of sight, falling down into the next floor. There was a satisfying thump from down below. But still his words echoed. Ioneer, 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 Ioneer! Pain drove a green dagger into Gretchen's mind, and she retched, spraying vomit across the floor. When she looked down at it, it was nothing but twigs and leaves and mulch. When she blinked, it was nothing but bile. Her orange wisdom crackled around it. This was some new ability of Morgan Noct's. That was how his wisdom abilities worked. He had a whole damn alphabet of powers he was constantly developing. He developed some new ability that was messing with her head now. P for psychic or something like that. Well, it wouldn't work. She wasn't going to just stand there and let that happen. She reached up and wiped the sweat from her brow with a trembling branch, breathing heavily. No matter what kind of wisdom ability this was, if she destroyed the user, the ability would disappear too. She had an endless arsenal of weapons, while Morgan Noct had a few footsteps left in his lifespan. This wouldn't be a big deal. Still wheezing, Gretchen Hale cocked its shotgun. Is Ioneer mad because Morgan left him for Dad?
Perhaps we will find out more.
No! Save my Ioneer! Don't all lowercase Morgan's name.
Don't text me. Don't send me your Aetheral memories.
I assume their egos are blending or some such, but that's sad. That's so sad. Was her Aether always orange, or her wisdom, I mean?
It's always been orange, yeah.
What was Ioneer's wisdom again?
It was green.
Oh, interesting. Alright, guys, well, thank you all for watching.
No questions?
Oh, that's right. I guess I have to, don't I?
Damn it, why did I forget to do questions? I'm done now, damn it.
Wiser Than You asks, how far back can Gustavo Mordecai's changelog go?
Maximum 3 hours, but he gets all the information at once, so he will like take a minute to process it if he has too much.
Quaker asks, how did the AWL choose which... What? Did you hear that?
You can also expand it, by the way, to like years, but he only gets the big highlights then.
Sorry, did you just hear that?
I heard like a noise.
Yeah, my cat let out like an ear-piercing screech. I think she hurt herself.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look in a second. Let me... Here. Sorry. Hey! What's wrong? Are you okay? Baby? Oh, she's upset about something. Hey, you're not in pain, right? Hey, baby. Are you okay? Hey, what's wrong? Okay. She's not reacting poorly when I touch anything, so I don't think she broke anything. That was weird. Okay, sorry. Quaker asks, how did the AWL choose which awakenings to put into Palatine?
It was quantity over quality. There wasn't much of a selection process there, apart from ability to be put into Palatine.
Damn. Rockshark asks, how did Nail Manrin use Shami Choro without awakening his Aether at first?
Because Guardian Antis are fucking cheating, and they need to be banned, quite frankly.
Yeah, it was my understanding that wasn't really Nail's Aether. Someone else downloaded their Aether into them, and then they just got to use it.
Exactly. They were hacking the system on that planet.
Yeah. Very interesting. All right, and that's all our questions for now.
Yeah.
Good job, you did it. I'm very curious to see where this fight goes. New Leaf, new me. Is that why you thought it was Animal Crossing? Because you called it New Leaf?
That's why, yeah.
That's pretty good.
I almost said Animal Crossing New Leaf.
That's pretty based. All right, well, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.